On this Wednesday night, reaction to Quebec's proposed anti-vax tax. From the Prime Minister to the premiers.
We have no intent.
We explore the opposition and the support.
It should be at least $300 to $400.
Beefing up pandemic benefits to help battered businesses.
What affects your mental health, your emotional health.
What else they say they need. Is the party over for the British Prime Minister?
I must take responsibility.
His admission and apology, and the mounting calls for him to resign. And under the influence of social media, growing urgency for the government to act.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with the new approach Quebec's premier is taking to get everyone in his province vaccinated against COVID-19. Call it a punishment or call it an incentive. The plan is to make those who refuse to get vaccinated pay a penalty or a fee. Premier François Legault calls it a health contribution, a necessary tool, he says, because the unvaccinated are more of a burden on the healthcare system. He's given few details on how it would be implemented, but just the idea of it has generated swift reaction for and against. And the province says 7,000 people signed up for their first shot today. Our coverage begins with Mike Lacouture.
The best path forward is vaccination.
It's a message the Prime Minister has pushed for 12 months, yet millions of Canadians remain unvaccinated. And while Justin Trudeau wants more information about Quebec's plan to tax the unvaxxed, he's also not denouncing it.
Various orders of government are right to look at different ways of encouraging and incentivizing people to get vaccinated.
Quebec Premier François Legault's idea of a significant so-called health contribution for unvaccinated adults may seem a desperate measure to some, but some believe these are desperate times.
Well, I think the fact that we're seeing Quebec consider this option just really speaks to where we are at in terms of the healthcare system being overwhelmed and really struggling to keep bringing itself back to meet the needs of Canadians throughout this pandemic.
Other premiers say they won't be following Quebec's lead.
No, we will not be putting in a COVID tax.
Saskatchewan hasn't looked at this. We have no intent to ultimately look at a vax tax.
The instruments that are in place have achieved their goals, but so it's not something that we're contemplating at this particular time.
Ontario's top doctor believes promoting informed decisions on vaccines is preferable to punishing people.
Putting a penalty on those that have not been vaccinated has not been entertained by this government.
Federal measures haven't been punitive, but have prohibited unvaccinated people from getting on planes or trains or working in the public service. Health Minister Jean-Yves Duclos has floated the idea of vaccine mandates, pointing to successes in the public sector where nearly 99% of federal civil servants are nearly fully vaccinated. Some countries are going further. In Austria, as of February 1st, vaccines will be mandatory for everyone. New Chancellor Olaf Scholz wants the same for adults in Germany. Whether or not Quebec moves forward with the tax, it will have to respect the Canada Health Act, meaning any fee imposed by the province cannot be tied to access to the country's free universal healthcare system. And Prime Minister Trudeau says he's been assured by the province that Quebec will respect the act. Donna.
All right, Mike Lacouture in Ottawa, thanks. It is unvaccinated people in Quebec who will pay the price if this policy is implemented. So far, it is just talk, lots of talk, as Mike Armstrong reports.
If there's ever been a topic made for talk radio, debating taxing the unvaccinated may be it.
Krista, what do you say?
It should be at least $300 to $400.
It shouldn't be an amount. It should be a percentage of an income that the people have.
When smoke became a secondhand smoke issue, we banned it. Right? This is not something new because of COVID. Be fair. Quantify how much of a burden the people aren't vaccinated get. The flu are placed on the healthcare system. People lead a sedentary lifestyle. People eat fast food. And then make it fair, tax them too, and we get rid of the universal healthcare system altogether and be fair about it.
While Quebec's proposed anti-vax tax may only apply to Quebecers, the debate is affecting Canadians across the country.
Dave, what do you think about Legault?
The issue, as they say, lit up the lines in Toronto.
Yeah, I don't like it.
With some nervous about a slippery slope and what could come next.
It frightens me.
And others applauding the Quebec Premier's tough approach.
He's angry, he's probably frustrated, he has a lot of guts. So, like it or not, I respect the man for that.
In Vancouver, different conditions, but the same questions. A recent poll found about 60% of Canadians would support some sort of a health surcharge for the unvaccinated. That's about the ratio of support the idea is getting on BC radio.
Anne on the line in Langley. Hi, Anne. What do you think?
I really think they need to pay their way.
That's despicable to say that. It's despicable to say that you're going to charge people.
Quite frankly, I'm sick and tired of us collectively being held hostage by, sadly, the previous caller who probably gets his medical advice from Joe Rogan.
If I can't control what's in my bloodstream, then we're not in a free society anymore. This is communism.
Not a good idea, no.
For or against, whether it's Calgary or St. Catherine Street in Montreal, this one has people talking, and that may be part of the reason for the proposal. Quebec's health minister says the day the anti-vax tax was announced, appointments for first doses jumped, 7,000 people booked. Whether it ever happens or not, it may already be having an impact. Mike Armstrong, Global News, Montreal.
In Ontario, the number of people in the hospital with COVID-19 now has hit another high. There are more than 3,400 people in hospital with the virus. That's up 228 from yesterday. 505 of them are in intensive care. About 12% of eligible people in Ontario are unvaccinated. They account for more than 45% of people in ICUs. The Ontario government is giving parents and teachers more information today on the plan to get students back to in-class learning. Starting next week, every student, teacher, and staff member will get 2 rapid antigen tests. More will be rolled out when the government has the supply.
Our new approach focuses on empowering parents and students. Empowerment means parents have the test in their home, can perform it in their home, and can make the diagnosis in their home with greater convenience.
There are also new protocols for notifying Ontario parents about potential COVID outbreaks. The province says parents will only be told when 30% of the school is absent. In-class learning is set to resume in Ontario on Monday.
I know the anguish that they have been through, unable to mourn their relatives, unable to live their lives as they want, or to do the things they love. And I know the rage they feel with me and with the government I lead when they think that in Downing Street itself, the rules are not being properly followed by the people who make the rules.
Well, that is Britain's Prime Minister trying to hang on to his job. Some senior members of Boris Johnson's own party have joined the chorus of voices calling for him to resign. He admitted today he did attend an event in the garden of his residence in the middle of the lockdown last May, when the public was told to meet only one person outside. His claim that he didn't know it was a party is being laughed at. But as Crystal Gamansing reports, the threat to his leadership is serious.
Mr. Speaker, I want to apologise. I know that millions of people across this country have made extraordinary sacrifices.
A scandal quite literally in his own backyard could end Boris Johnson's time in power. The Prime Minister previously said he was furious and ordered an inquiry over allegations government staff members held parties in 2020 when the country was in lockdown. Now, he acknowledges he attended one of those gatherings, and while he apologized, he tried to justify his attendance.
I believed implicitly that this was a work event.
However, the invite obtained by ITV News encouraged people to make the most of the lovely weather in the garden at number 10 for socially distanced drinks.
This is a business meeting until it's a party.
Outside Parliament, demonstrators called the PM's actions indefensible, demanding he resign. Inside, the opposition leader did the same.
It's his defence that he didn't realise he was at a party. It is so ridiculous that it's actually offensive to the British public.
More than 150,000 people in the UK have died as a result of COVID-19. This wall of hearts right across from Parliament, a visual reminder of the impact of the virus. Now, not only is there grief and anger, but embarrassment.
I'd say there's an affront to you, to me, to everyone who sacrificed during COVID. It's a serious business.
Shouldn't have done it, and an apology is not enough. It's not okay to simply say, I'm sorry, I thought it was a work meeting. I mean, you're smarter than that, you run a country.
How much longer he'll be running the country is the question. Johnson has long been known as a savvy politician, a survivor. But some Conservative backbenchers are now talking about triggering a non-confidence vote. Crystal Gamansing, Global News, London.
Prince Andrew will have to face a civil suit in the U.S. over allegations he sexually assaulted a teenager in 2001. Lawyers for the Duke of York argued Virginia Giuffre's lawsuit be thrown out, in large part because of a settlement she reached with Jeffrey Epstein in 2009. Giuffre claims Epstein, a convicted sex offender, set up sexual encounters with the prince when she was 17 years old. Prince Andrew has denied the allegations, but a New York judge ruled the settlement didn't involve the prince and the case can continue. It could be heard in court later this year. Novak Djokovic now admits he broke self-isolation rules last month when he had COVID-19 and met a journalist claiming he didn't want to let the reporter down. He's also admitted he made a false declaration on his travel form, claiming he had not traveled within 2 weeks of arriving in Australia. Recent reports show he was in Spain and Serbia. That error contributed to his visa being revoked upon arrival in Australia. Djokovic, who is unvaccinated, has since had his visa reinstated, but the Australian government is again considering whether to revoke it. Today, he carried on training for the Australian Open. The pandemic has been a brutal blow to many businesses. Coming up, how Ottawa is extending benefits. Is it enough? Businesses relying on the federal pandemic support program known as CEBA will get more time to pay it back. The government has extended the repayment deadline for the interest-free loans to the end of 2023. It's welcome news for many, but as Abigail Beeman reports, it's not enough for others.
Sportstown Soccer's doors may be open, but Omicron means traffic is slow.
Months where you're going into work and you're almost dreading that you're going in because you just know there's going to be no business. And just how it affects your mental health, your emotional health.
Craig Burnham expanded operations right before the pandemic hit and has spent 22 months trying to adapt. That includes navigating the maze of federal supports.
That we're extending the Canada Emergency Business Account, the CEBA.
Now has an extra year to pay that back.
There's a little bit of instant relief for sure.
They will be able to have until December of 31st of 2023 now to repay their loan. We've heard from businesses that they're looking for this flexibility.
The CEBA provided up to $60,000 to nearly 900,000 businesses across Canada. If repaid by the end of 2023, up to $20,000 will be forgiven.
It's been likely the largest emergency relief program for small businesses across Canada.
The Canadian Federation of Independent Business applauds the extension, but says Ottawa needs to go further to help, with so many desperately trying to keep the lights on.
We believe that the CEBA loans should now be raised to $80,000. 50% of the overall loan should be forgivable. And we believe greater access should be given to new businesses and smaller businesses that right now are excluded from the program.
Burnham says the CEBA didn't go very far. It allowed him to catch up on and then cover some rent. But everything helps in an era of exhaustion.
We're aging exponentially, more so than small business owners normally would.
The CFIB had also been calling for a longer extension until 2024 instead of 2023. The small business minister was asked about that Wednesday, but didn't directly answer. Abigail Beeman, Global News, Ottawa.
China, the Philippines, and South Korea have all suspended imports of Canadian beef following the discovery of a case of mad cow disease. This strain, which was detected in one Alberta cow last month, is not believed to be transmissible to humans. It's the first case reported in 6 years. The ban could affect more than $270 million in beef exports annually, though industry leaders say it isn't expected to last long. In BC, heavy rain continues to drench the south coast and Vancouver Island. Some areas could get more than 150 millimeters of rain. In Abbotsford, proactive sandbagging is underway to try to prevent localized flooding. Snowmelt combined with all that rain could raise water levels again and cause pooling on roads. It's been 2 months since that city and parts of the Fraser Valley were devastated by flooding. Environment Canada anticipates the heavy rain will ease by this evening. Ahead, after years of the dangerous influence of social media, is it too late for Ottawa to step in?
You're watching Global National.
Global News is taking a closer look at the impact social media has on all of us. We're starting with an analysis of whether the government can or should play a role in regulating social media companies. Anne Gaviola has our first installment of Influenced.
There's entire teams of engineers whose job is to use your psychology against you.
What was once social media's great secret is now out in the open. Last September, Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen provided evidence, proof, she says, the company knew its platforms prioritized profits over its users' well-being and that its products harmed children and stoked division. Facebook rebranded itself as Meta in late October. A spokesperson for the company's Canadian division tells Global News, for years, Meta has done extensive work in bullying, suicide, self-injury, and eating disorder prevention and will continue to look for opportunities to help people struggling. Solomon Ahmed coaches businesses to leverage social media for bottom-line results, but he worries about the influence social media has on his 3 children.
I think that needs to be more carefully scrutinized by government and regulators and other people, not just left to the whims of social media platforms.
In the last parliament, the Liberal government introduced bills to address online hate and privacy concerns, but they died when Parliament was dissolved for the 2021 election. During the campaign, the Liberals pledged to bring back new bills within their government's first 100 days to combat harmful content on social media. So far, nothing new. Just the Heritage Department saying it will continue to consult Canadians, experts, and stakeholders on how best to tackle these complex issues while upholding fundamental rights.
We're laggards. We're behind Australia, we're behind Germany, we're behind the United Kingdom.
Cracking down on foreign tech giants isn't easy.
It's really difficult to compel them to do what they don't want to do, what they can't do, because it goes against their business models.
The root of the problem, the more we click, the more we engage, the more they earn. That's given rise to algorithms that amplify inflammatory content. It's a global concern. In Canada, opposition MPs say they want a measured, collaborative approach that brings tech titans to the table.
We want to see an approach where we're not unduly restricting, the freedom of speech, freedom of expression of Canadians who want to be able to express themselves online.
Algorithms are driving extremist content, the breakdown of social discourse. There has to be accountability.
Many observers are calling for immediate action after a quarter century of inaction. Donna?
All right, Anne Gaviola in Toronto, thanks. Part 2 of our Influence series rolls out on Saturday. It's about people who use their online following to give financial advice, apparently known as finfluencers. Living like snow kings next, in Alberta families cool construction for a winter hangout. In Alberta, warm Chinook winds are a welcome relief from a stretch of frigid weather and heavy snow. Well, one family decided to make the best of all of it, building a multi-room mansion and spending time together doing it. Quinn Campbell takes us on a tour.
This mountain of snow has been a labor of love for the Preet family.
This is the entrance.
They've created a snow cave mansion, but it's not their first one.
4 times, actually. The first year, 1 room, next year 2, next one plus an igloo. This year, like 3 bedrooms and the party room.
Each year, their creations get bigger and better. Oldest brother Micah says the hardest part this time was after all the digging was done.
I would say it's pretty much getting situated when we were going to sleep in it.
That's right, they spent the night inside the cave, soaking up some family time.
Me and my 3 kids and my brother and one of his kids, we spent the night, Saturday night. We had a pizza party and Settlers of Catan until about 1 in the morning, and then we all crawled into our sleeping bags.
And if you're wondering what it's like to sleep in the cave,
Like normal sleeping, but on a mattress in a sleeping bag and with blankies. I almost thought I was in my trailer for a second. It was cold at first, and then we brought a bunch of different heaters in.
now the boys are hoping this year's shoveling pays off. They've posted the mansion online, inviting people to pay for a night's stay, hoping to save up for something special.
Same as my bigger brother's, a Nintendo Switch. We're both saving up for one.
It's not a bad lesson to learn that if you work hard, you can get something out of it. So that's maybe one of Dad's ulterior motives here.
Southern Alberta weather is forecasted for a rapid warm-up, so you might want to book early with these budding entrepreneurs before your chance at sleeping in a snow mansion melts away. Quinn Campbell, Global News.
And that is Global National for this Wednesday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Your Canada is near St. Catharines, Ontario. We'd love to see Your Canada. Please email it to viewers@globalnational.com. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.